anything we
We
don't
can just
want
wing
out,
it.
Yeah, don't.
you know?
Wait, that's the name of the podcast. Wing it.
Wing it's great too.
That what I like.
I like
to
wing
do.
it.
What should we do?
Wing it.
Wing it.
Welcome to Wing It.
We're
I'll be
we're
your
winging
host,
it.
Nick.
Man,
All right.
Wing it.
All right. I
Just
started recording like 20 seconds ago, so
Yeah,
Let's
welcome
try.
to the Wing
That's
It
fine.
podcast, everybody.
all right. All right. I forgot what to say. All right. All right. Welcome to the Wingless podcast tonight. My name is Nick Krasnivology. I'll be your host, and everyone else can do their introductions real quick. Start with
Hello, I'm
Cadis.
Cadis.
Okay.
I'm Nate.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Chase Wilson or Bryan. Nick's known me long enough to call me Bryan.
All right. So today's Wing It podcast is going to be regarding misconceptions behind broadcast meteorologists. And we have a guest here today, as he introduces himself. His name is Chase Wilson or Bryan Wilson. I'll let him do a little introduction for himself. He can go a little more in depth at what he does exactly.
Sure, yeah. But just to clarify the name thing, my first name is Bryan, and Nick's known me for years. And I went by Bryan Wilson for the longest time. But in my personal life, I go by Chase, my middle name. And recently I realized, oh, this is a career. I should probably go ahead and switch to my preferred name, which is Chase Wilson. So that's just kind of the thing there for everybody. But that notwithstanding, yes, I'm a broadcast meteorologist at Tennessee Valley Weather, which is, I guess you could say, the first generation digital broadcast meteorology, right? By all accounts, I am a broadcast meteorologist. I go on at 12 to 5, 6, and 9 on the weekends, as well as in the morning at 6 and 8. I'm on people's cable, Roku, smart TV, things like that in front of the camera. Only difference is we're not on, a news channel. We're not News Channel 8 or News Channel 5. We're pretty much all digital with the exception of maybe one cable thing that we have a partnership with, but that's really not our main source of revenue. So that's my kind of background there, kind of a first generation digital meteorologist, I would say. And broadcast, yeah, I'd call it that.
Okay. Thank you for your introduction. I guess
Yep.
it doesn't really pertain much to this, but if you could explain more about your kind of radar background, I guess I thought it'd be an interesting tidbit to add, maybe.
Oh yeah, that was where I started. Yeah, and that's actually how I got my job here, because the business started doing pretty well, and it was able to afford its own radar. My boss, Ben Luna, he started the company in April of 2020. Not a great month to start a business, but it worked out, and managed to fund a local radar and realized he didn't really know how to use it. And he kind of put out some probes looking for people who knew how to use it. And he called me in. I was fresh out of high school. This is May of 2020. And, I was 18 years old. And I came in and I met him. I shook his hand. I sat down. He was like, so is your dad going to come in for the interview? Like, he didn't know it was me. He'd found me on Facebook or something. He didn't know I was pretty much a kid. But for my whole life, I've been into radar specifically. Yeah, Nick's right on that. I had a little bit of an internship with Center for Severe Weather Research with Josh Werman, Karen Kosiba when I was a teenager, just helping with a little software development. And that was kind of the roots of where I got this. And here I am now with one, soon to be 2 radars under my belt. Very proud of that. Then I just kind of stumbled into the broadcast sector as a result of the job, really.
Yeah. Can't wait for Prime.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be a fun project.
Oh yeah. But we got some news about that today. I'll tell you more about that
really?
later.
Yeah, tell me later.
Ooh.
All right, I guess we'll get more into the questions. We have a list of questions lined up here from each of us. I guess I'll just start off. So, like, what's a typical day in your job look like? Like, what do you do exactly? I suppose.
Well, I'll walk you through my day today. All right, no, I'll walk you through like my Saturday, because that's more of a typical day. So I'm a weekend meteorologist. I go in 4 days a week, but specifically when I'm on broadcast, it's Saturday and Sunday. I get in around about 10:30, 10, so not too bad at all in the morning. And the first thing I do is I get in there, turn the set on, which is just turning on monitors. We all know how to do that. And immediately I sit down at Lynx. Lynx, if you're a broadcast nerd, you'll know that's a Baron software. Baron is a meteorological service provider, and I go in and I start the forecasting process. That's step one, is to do your job, you need to have a forecast. So I spend, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes on a forecast on a calm day just because I'm over diligent. On calm days, it really doesn't take that long. But you go over things like that. My first show is due at midday, so I have plenty of time. I do a live show at 12 p.m. I also pre-record, so these are not live shows, a 2 p.m. show, a 6 p.m. show, a 9 p.m. show, and a 6 and 8 a.m. show for the day after. Again, this is all on calm days. We've realized doing this 5-6 years, on a typical day, you don't need to be live at 6, 8, 5, 6, 9, 2. You don't need to be live all the time. You can just do 1 or 2 live hits a day. So we pre-record most of our shows. Again, another benefit of this digital thing, you can do that. And I'm out of work usually after recording everything, editing everything, and uploading thing, and a typical 6 or 7 hour workday, sometimes even less than that, right? So there's a lot of flexibility in this exact sector, this digital sector of meteorology, and I'm very grateful for that, especially given I have a 4-day work week. That's very nice. So I'm a little special in this respect, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate you going in depth for that.
Yeah.
I'll take the next question. So how much science or forecasting do you do behind the scenes, like that viewers wouldn't realize, like as they're watching your program?
That's a good one. I will say that, and I'm sure we've all seen these posts on social media of this is what it takes to be a meteorologist, and it's all the way through Calc 4 differential equations. We're not doing that. I want to say we're not doing that. But the baseline knowledge of forecasting that you learn in college and that you learn with experience, it kind of underlies it. So I would say a pretty decent amount. But once you learn it, it kind of drifts to the background. Of course, we go through the Euro, the blend of models, the QPFs. Okay, what's the relative humidity in 700s look like? Are we going to get cloud cover? But that's actually all relatively basic. But to the average viewer, that's wizardry, right? I mean, I don't think Joe Blow with a farm is going to be talking about 700 millibar relative humidity. So I would say there's more to it than just we look at a little screen that says 60% chance of rain, right? Obviously, there's translatability that you need to do as a meteorologist, but yeah, it's a little complicated. But once you get to know it, it's just a day in the job, right?
Yeah,
Very cool.
absolutely.
I'll pass it to Nate.
All right, I got a question. So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about you guys? Because like people kind of assume things about you guys that kind of aren't true. And I was
Oh
just
gosh,
wondering,
yeah,
like,
I know that's
what
right.
about it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Let me tell you one thing about what people misconceive about meteorologists, period. It's that we're all on TV and have a fancy suit and tie. Like, a lot of my weather service friends, we'll be in public getting lunch and someone says, they'll go, oh, I'm a meteorologist, and say, oh, you're on TV? For some reason, that's like the only occupation people perceive, and I feel like that's kind of a misperception. But I digress. One of the things that drives me nuts, and this will drive everyone nuts, I'm sure, is that they say we're wrong 50% of the time. We are not wrong 50% of the time, if I may toot my own horn. Most of us aren't. We keep tracks of our success rates, our forecast busts versus successes, and we have about an 85% track record, which is pretty good, and I would say most decent firms have about that. So I wish people would just know, hey, we're doing our best here. We're not just pulling it out of our butt. We really are doing our best, and it's not always 50%. You see the failures more than you see the successes because you don't think of the successes, but we're not that bad. I wish people would give us a little more grace in that respect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally
absolutely.
agree with that one.
And I can definitely relate as far as people only assume that TV meteorology is the only career. I'm obviously I don't have my major or I don't have a career yet, but whenever I talk to people oh yeah, I do meteorology and whatnot, and oh you want to go on TV and stuff.
Yeah, I bet they would be like, oh, when am I going to see you on TV?
Yeah, exactly.
And back before Tennessee Valley Weather, I said the same thing. I was like, when I would have a friend just getting into it, or someone, I'd say, oh, what station you want to work for? I was guilty of that myself. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess take the next question here. I mean, it's sort of related to misconceptions, but do you think the public understands the difference between broadcast meteorology? Actually, ties into what I just said. Do you think the public understands the difference between broadcast meteorologists and operational meteorologist, I suppose.
I guess that does tie in then. I guess, well, I guess kind of not. I will say, I think there is some level of understanding about there is, of course, broadcasters, and there's also researchers. Of course, we've seen all the movies about the plucky researchers with their probe going to throw the tornado something into the tornado. I don't know. Yeah, so I think there's at least a pop culture understanding that there's researchers or storm chasers, if you will, and there's TV, bozos. So I mean, I think there is some level of understanding, but not. I don't think people understand the operational aspect. I don't. Again, I'll go back to the Joe Blow with a farm in Tennessee. I don't think he really internalizes or really knows what it means when you say to him, "Oh, I'm an operational forecaster with the SPC or the WPC." He's like, what did you just say? It's just a bunch of words, So I don't think there's really an internal cognitive kind of immediate clicking with that, but hopefully that'll change because I think the weather service people are the good ones. Like I feel like I have such an easy job, in comparison to the shift work that operational Mets do so often. I couldn't do it.
I'm going right in.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
To build off of that, like Farmer Joe example, right? A lot of people, they like, even with what you've told us so far, there's been a lot of meteorology jargon. A lot of people won't understand any of that. So how do you find that balance between the scientific accuracy of making the forecasts, and making it easy to comprehend for the public?
Yeah, I feel like that's most of the job as a broadcaster, or at least as a good broadcaster, is to meet your audience where they're at. Right? I mean, it's easy to. I think every vocation has this issue, be it physics, science, astronomy, anything. We all assume everyone knows what we're talking about, but you have to meet your audience where you're at. And I think a big part of that is actually going out into the community and talking to people and asking them, hey, what did you get out of this? What did you get out of that? And we've done that. We've had the leeway to do that because we're an independent company. Again, I'm a very unique example because I'm not traditional broadcast. We started our own company. I didn't. Ben Luna is my boss. He started it, and I was the first person they hired. But we have the power to go out and sit with lunch and talk to people and just say, hey, take their feedback. And that has been invaluable in doing that. And a matter of fact, one of the results of that has been us getting rid of rain percentages. So we don't do this whole 30%, 40%, 50% chance of rain because that alone confuses a lot of people. They think, does that mean there's a 50% chance of rain, or 50% of us will see rain, or 50% of the area will see rain? That alone really does cause a lot of confusion. So we've gone, for example, to what we call weather words on the 7-day. We just say scattered showers, isolated showers. It's all about, I don't want to say dumbing down. That doesn't do the general population enough justice. It's meeting them where they're at, and I think you need to kind of do that to be a good broadcaster. Meet your audience where they're at.
Yeah.
So I'll take the next one. So during severe weather, how do you handle the pressure of communicating urgent information live? So I've heard that you've stayed for multiple days working on severe weather inputs and stuff. How does that entail?
Yeah, it is true. I have a couple times stayed more than 24 hours. December 10th of 2021 was one case. We stayed. I think I was there 33 hours.
Wow,
that was pretty brutal. But that comes with the territory. I'm not complaining about it. But yeah, you sort of have to have nerves of steel to excel with severe weather coverage, especially because it literally is in some cases life or death. But you really do enter a flow state. Kind of hard to analyze that once you've done it for so long. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't serious nerves my first several severe weather events. December 10th of 2021 was only my third or fourth really major one, for example. And I was, first couple hours, I was like, holy crap, you seen what's happening in Mayfield? You seen what's happening up there in the Kentucky area? And then turned out to not be so bad for us. But I think your senses and your nerves sort of solidify with time. But you just kind of have to push through the funny feeling in your stomach the first few times because it is definitely there. But when you know so many people are watching you and when you know so many people are relying on you, that knowledge kind of pushes through any of the anxiety that you get, and you to use what Nick was trying to do earlier, you just lock in. I mean, you really do. You really lock in, and I think that's what matters most. Is just staying focused, and you get into a flow state. So after a while, it's nothing. You realize 6 hours have passed after you thought an hour did.
Extra question on that. So,
Yep.
what was December 10th? I'm not familiar with it. What happened on that?
Yeah.
What was that? What was that
Yeah. So
event?
again, there you go, talking about people versus knowing or not knowing. December 10th was the day of the Quad State tornado, which was the Mayfield tornado that went through portions of 4 states: Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky. It was a tornado family, but that was the Mayfield tornado. Killed 50-something people. Was an EF4. Very deadly day. Very deadly nocturnal day in the southeast. And of course, I'm based in Tennessee, so that was pretty impactful locally. Very substantial day. It was sort of a career marker for a lot of people.
Yeah, I remember that day very well.
Oh yeah, I remember that day very, very well. Yeah, that was 1 month after I started full time. That was crazy.
Really, I did not know that.
Yep, I started on November 8th, so just a few days ago. It would be 4 years since I full time started, and that was trial by fire. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess on that similar topic, could you share like other like experiences you had? I know you've had tornadoes like in Lawrenceburg and whatnot. I'm just curious on like if you could share like some of your tornado experiences or ones you've seen, I suppose as well.
Oh yeah, I've chased quite a bit before I worked here. Worked at Tennessee Valley Weather since 2014. I think April 28th was my first chase. That day saw several EF3s and EF4s. I was 12 years old. My dad, I convinced him to take me out in his truck to chase. And he was like, all right, if it'll shut you up. And I had My Radar, a little My Radar app, terrible quality. We saw the Athens EF3. This is in North Alabama, Athens, the city. We saw an EF3 tornado go through Limestone County, the county that city's in. That was my first tornado that I saw in a chase. But before that, I saw an EF5 in Oklahoma on May 24th of 2011. And that's when I think I realized, like, oh, okay, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. All right. Like, I had always been interested in weather, and I knew that's my passion, but that's when I realized, okay, this is the one. All right. I lived in Guthrie, which is just north of Oklahoma City a little bit, and there was this.
Forgot you saw that, yeah.
Yeah. I was 9 years old or so, maybe 10. However old I was in 2011. I'm 24 now, so 10 maybe. But I lived in Guthrie, and it was Memorial Day weekend or just about, and we were preparing to launch fireworks. We lived in the country, and it got real dark, and there started to be some hail, and we looked off to the southwest, and there was this giant mothership with a rain-wrapped wedge under it. Most crazy thing I'd ever seen, and then we took shelter. But that was crazy. A core memory. I'm sitting here right now with my eyes shut. I can see it clear as day. It was the most remarkable thing I'd ever seen. That was scary, but it's scariest name of the game in this business, so whatever. That was just great. I love that.
Yeah. Well, what about what was it, February 16th, 2023?
That's one of my favorite days. That's one of my favorite days because of the everyone else. It was a bust to everybody else, but for me, near our X band, there was a family of like 5 or 6 EF0s and EF1s, all within about 10 kilometers, about 6 miles or so from the radar, and I got some of the best data ever. I was on cloud 9 for a month after that. That was so cool. I got 20-second resolution data of the whole tornado family, 75 meter resolution, which is 4 or 5 times better than the government radars. I was so proud of that. That is a highlight day for me, just because of the radar data. Because again, I go back to radar being my thing. I'm glad you mentioned that day. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, I got Nia's next question.
Yeah, so have you seen like any like misleading information online, whether that's like social media or like
Ooh.
any random article online that like has
Yeah,
affected people's reactions to like what's going on in their area?
100%, 100%. We have this weird confluence of being in the area that the deadliest tornado outbreak in history was, April 27th of 2011, and April 3rd, 1974. So we have generational history with this stuff. So everyone's already on edge here. We don't need anything exacerbating the paranoia that people here have. And unfortunately, we see that a lot, especially the last 2 or 3 years, maybe, the proliferation of AI. I mean, I've seen AI generated SPC maps shared 100, 1,000 times, and people will be messaging us nonstop, calling the office about and sending us that, asking about it, and we're like, oh, can't do damage control all the time. It bogs us down. Everyone, it's frantic. So yeah, absolutely, I've seen that, and
Mm.
I think the whole proliferation of AI. I don't know how we're going to handle that. That's going to be a tricky barrier for this industry to cross. I think we're just kind of seeing that.
Yeah, that actually kind of goes into our next question. So how do you think the field of broadcast meteorology is it's changing with new technology and social media and obviously AI, as you just
Oh, yeah.
said?
Yeah. You know, broadcast as a whole, I often tell people just to not bother yet. But I think I should change my advice to don't be afraid to think outside the box with broadcast, because that's what we did. I think and I sound a little egotistical, and I don't mean to do that. I am proud of what we've done, but I really do. I really do think Tennessee Valley weather and models like it. We're not trying to take over the country. We have our little area, and we're happy with that. But like the model of Tennessee Valley weather, I think is the direction broadcast is headed, and we've already seen that. There's dozens of little stations like ours. Nick McCoulis in Louisiana is a good one. He was a chief down there for a very long time. Mike Kruger in California, he was a chief for 28 years in California, and he quit to do his own thing like we're doing. There's dozens of them. I think this is the way forward. The medium is the message. Like TV, I don't have TV, and I'm in the industry. I don't know if any of you have TV, but certainly most people I know don't have cable anymore. And I think the market, it hasn't responded to that yet, but it's beginning to. And digital, I think, is the future in a lot of respects.
For sure. I guess like sort of like a question to sort of wrap it all up. Just in general, is what advice would you give to students that are interested in becoming like broadcast meteorologists? I suppose.
That ties in good to what I was just saying. Yeah, don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't discount the new startup that's a little digital met thing like we were, because I really do think that is the future. And don't be afraid to get your feet wet in traditional broadcast either, because I don't think that's going to evaporate. I mean the hours are. You pull a lot of hours, you get a lot of trial by fire type situations in the industry, but it's a very valuable experience. So don't be afraid of all the doom and gloom, right? Still exist, right? Broadcast will still exist at the end of the day. It's just going to change form. So, even though I've been guilty of this myself, I would say kind of tune out the doom and gloom and just focus on your end game. I think having an end game is very important as just a life lesson. So just keep that end game in mind, and screw everything else. Don't worry about it. Just keep that focused, and you're good to go.
And finally, what are we going to expect from you? Where can people find you? What are you working for?
Well, right. Nick mentioned Prime earlier. We're working on a big C-band radar. I'm very excited for that. So stay tuned with Tennessee Valley weather if you guys are radar nerds. But if you want any more, anything that I talk about nerdy crap all the time over on Twitter at Dual Doppler, so you can find me there. But most of the time, yeah, if you're a local in the Tennessee Valley, you can just watch me over at Tennessee Valley Weather. We're very straight to the point, no nonsense, and I will always plug that because that is where my loyalties lie. I'm so proud of that company.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for meeting with us. I really appreciate it. You provide so much good info for this podcast episode.
Thank you. Yeah.
I
I'm
really
glad I could do
appreciate
it. Yeah, glad. I love talking to people about it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for also meeting up for this. I I know we had some scheduling issues, but we worked it out.
It all worked out in the end.
It worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you again, Brian. I appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
Sweet.
Well, this was the first and probably only episode of Wing It. I
Yeah,
appreciate
We're
you
going
stopping.
100 episodes.
We ended on a high note. It ended right as it was getting good. The series ended.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Who do we bring on next? Bring on
Tim Marshall.
Hmm.
Tim Marshall.
Al Roker.
Next
I'm gonna-
episode, we're
gonna be
collabing
on
with
that.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah.
God, what would he have to say about weather? I don't know.
It didn't have to be about weather.
We can talk about all this spraying that.
Is this regular poker?
This is completely normal poker.
Damn.
Googling
Wait, did I
how
get
to
it?
play poker. Oh yeah, Mike got it.
Ow.
He's like,
Oh, did you
everybody
vote?
join back in. We gotta inflate the table.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I'm the only one to join back. Guys, click top left.
Oh my god, this is huge.
Dude, that's a lot of money. I don't know if I can keep playing.
$10.
I hit join table, but nothing happened.
It joins the next round.
Oh.
I gotta get in, guys.